Welcome to UFO Headline News with me, Heidi Hollis. Today is Tuesday, December 12th, 2017. Blasting off with some UFO reports. The first comes to us from Dortmund, Nordrhein-Westfalen. This occurred October 29th, 2017. In brief, it states bright light object star satellite, like fading out, bright as polar star. The witness states, I was outside of the house to the dump at the trash into the waste container. 8 p.m. I looked above to the dark sky and looked at the stars. When I first noticed the object, I thought it was a star. It was bright as the polar star. Then I realized that it moved and thought it could be a satellite or the ISS. There was no blinking, so I knew it was no airplane. It moved to the south, and I watched it approximately from 70 degrees to 60 degrees to the horizon. It moved straight in the same direction. After some seconds, it faded a little bit out as if it were behind a thin cloud. After 1 minute, it faded completely out and vanished before my eyes. I only stood there and watched it. I thought, if it was not a cloud because it was fading out, it might move higher and higher. I had no special feelings at the moment. I was only thinking about it and what it was not. It vanished by fading out from a really bright star to nothing in 2 to 3 minutes before it would have moved behind a big house from my eye angle. The next UFO sighting occurred in Birmingham, England. This is a blast from the UFO past. This happened October 14th, 1993. In brief, the witness states, I was 12 or 13 at the time. It didn't really bother me at the time, just seemed cool. But it bothers me now. I saw a gold cigar with whitish windows just drifting along. Not a blimp. I know a blimp. In detail, the witness goes on to state, I was around 12 to 13 years old. This is about 20 years ago. I was walking down a small side street with another kid my age. Sadly, I don't remember his name, but it was not just us that saw. We called to other friends playing and said for them to look up at what we were looking at. I don't remember who saw it first, but I remember exactly where I was. We saw what I feel now must have been fairly big. A gold glowing cigar-shaped craft floating in the sky, at first not seeming to be moving, then slowly drifting to the left of where we were, then out of sight. It seemed to have whitish circle windows, also glowing like the rest of the craft, which glowed all over. It was no blimp. I've seen many. The time was afternoon. I had finished school and was off to our local woods and park to play. It was still daytime, but you could still clearly see this glowing thing up like it was made up of or powered by gold. It made no sound and no sudden movements, no speed or shooting off out of sight. It just kind of sneaked out of view. I know what I saw. I've never seen anything even remotely similar since. I'd happily take a lie detector test, hypnosis, or whatever. At the time, I just remember thinking it was cool and unusual. But that was it. I just carried on with my life, but the last few years, for some reason, it's bothering me more and more. I'm just glad I was not alone at the time and others saw this too. All right, going on to the next UFO sighting. This sighting occurred in Waru, 6 kilometers southeast from the place. This happened on September 4th, 2017. In brief, they state, one silver orb seen, then other craft captured unknowingly on SLR camera. In more detail, the witness states, I was filming, scouting for footage for my documentary on my interactions with New Zealand's Bigfoot. Huh, that's news. I had been driving along Port Jackson Road, searching for nice panoramas to film with the Mountain Mochu range in the background. I pulled over a location by farmland next to Port Jackson Road. I had some of my cameras out. I was looking at the mountainous scenery when I saw what looked like a silver orb-like object near the mountain range. But this only remained visually for about 3 seconds or so before fading away. I thought this was very strange, but wondered if it had been some kind of optical illusion on the mountain, reflecting or something. However, after looking around that part of the mountain, I could not see what I saw beforehand. I felt a bit puzzled by what I saw. I decided to film around the mountain area and around the valley below. I took some photos as well. It was not until months later, after finally going over my footage in detail on computer, that I saw some fast-moving anomalies. I viewed the footage frame by frame and noticed silver saucer-shaped craft. One anomaly was slow-moving, and it was hovering near the ground. Another flew straight into the hillside without crashing. I have only sent some of the video footage to MUFON, as this is being used in the documentary. Huh. This next UFO sighting is short and sweet. Black Triangle sighting in Oklahoma. This is a blast from the past. This happened February 3rd, 2015. Game 6 of Thunder versus Warriors. In more detail, the witness states, "Triangle, big UFO with no noise." The end. The next UFO sighting comes from Parksville, British Columbia. This is a little bit of a UFO blast from the past. March 25th, 2016, Black Triangle sighting. In brief, they state 5 or 6 triangular lights turned 90 degrees, hovered directly above, broke up, sped away. In more detail, they state, "I am from a scientific background, studied engineering in university, and never believed in UFOs, but I cannot deny what I saw. It was 5 changing to 4 bright lights in a triangular shape. I was near the beach in an RV park, and it moved slowly in a straight line to the east of me, made a sharp 90-degree turn, and proceeded to a position directly overhead where it stopped. It did not move for a few minutes, then proceeded back to its original path. The lights then seemed to break up, and some went directly east while others went to the south. They were capable of very high speeds and stopping abruptly. One by one they disappeared. I managed to snap a 5.6-second exposure of the last object just before it disappeared on my digital camera. The last object was stopped when I took the picture, but because it was a handheld time exposure, it made an irregular streak on the image. I told several friends about it, but they just laughed it off, so I kept silent. There was one more person standing near me that witnessed it too. I am not a UFO hunter, and the best way I can describe it to say that I saw a triangular formation of unidentified lights that seemed to act in a manner that I cannot explain. So it may fit the category of a group of unidentifiable flying lights. As I do not believe in ETs, I am still seeking a rational and logical explanation. My camera automatically records time and dates and other information, so I can be very precise about that information. There was an airport to the north about 60 kilometers away that had ties to the Air Force. I will see if I can attach an image that basically shows the last bright light poorly photographed. I want to remain anonymous. I am a hobby photographer, and I am trying to recall this event as honestly and clearly as I can. There was a third person that I know who witnessed this event that I have not spoken to about it. Well, all right. Next, coming to us as a very interesting UFO sighting in California, October 1st, 2017. In brief, they state, the object teleported in front of me. The witness goes on to state, I was out in front of my house and I saw a spaceship teleport in front of me, zigzag, and left quickly. Moving on to an alien adventure story. This article is entitled, How to Stop an Alien Abduction. Joe Jordan is the MUFON Mutual UFO Network State Section Director for Brevard County, Florida, known as Florida's Space Coast. He also is president and co-founder of the CE4 Research Group, which focuses on documenting and halting alien abductions. This second organization was created after Joe realized that most of his fellow MUFON investigators didn't want to touch the subject of alien abductions for fear of being ridiculed by peers who prefer to investigate UFO hardware. Okay. Joe once thought the same way and was a professed atheist. But that changed when an overwhelming number of abductees told him they were able to stop their alien abductions by simply asking Jesus to help them. I will go on record to saying I have also encouraged people to do that and have heard that repeatedly be successful. I've gone on record for many years stating that. Gotta say it. Okay, carrying on with the subject. Eventually, he became a Christian and has since documented at least 400 abduction cases that were stopped by simply asking for Jesus' help. Below are 4 of those cases. While the original testimonies are lengthier, only the parts about stopping the abductions are reported here. Complete testimonies can be read at the CE4 Research Group website. Howard. Then all of a sudden it came into my mind that I had to love them. When the real Greys did show up, I sent love to them, and they recoiled like it harmed them. Love seemed to be a weapon against them. So whenever they showed up, that is what I did. I didn't understand how love harms them, yet violence doesn't. I puzzled over this and eventually found the answer in the Bible. Matthew 5:54. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Heather. I awoke in the middle of the night. I immediately was fearful and sensed 2 dark beings at the end of my bed. The room had the most putrid odor I had ever smelled. I can only describe it as the smell of pure evil. I tried to scream for my husband, but my mouth would not move and I was paralyzed. I then heard, telepathically, one being say to the other, "What do you want to do to her?" Since I heard them, I figured they could hear me. So I thought to them, "You have no right to be here. I am a child of Jesus." Immediately, they were gone, and I fell back to sleep. Well, all right. Jason. I was asleep in my basement bedroom when I woke up suddenly and noticed 3 beings standing at the foot of the bed. I was completely paralyzed and overcome with terror and immediately sensed these beings were evil. The leader reached down and grabbed my arms and my hands on my biceps and lifted me out of bed. I felt almost completely weightless, like a helium balloon. When I was in a standing position, but not touching the floor, his mouth opened wide, and he breathed a furnace-hot blast of sulfur-smelling air in my face. Ew. Then we began to rotate and sink head first in the floor. I thought they were taking me to hell, and I said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." And
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's Employee of the Month, 2 months in a row. Leave a message at the... Hi, Jamie. It's me, Jamie. I just had a new idea for our song about the Name Your Price tool. So when it's like, tell us what you want to pay, hey, 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 and the trombone goes, blah, 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 and you say, we'll help you find coverage options to fit your budget. Then we just all do finger snaps while a choir goes, statements coming at ya, statements coming at ya. Yes? No? Maybe? Anyway, see your practice tonight. I got new lyrics for the rap break.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
instantly, I was back in my bed. My heart was pounding out of my chest, and I was soaked with sweat. For a long time it didn't cross my mind that I had experienced a classic alien abduction until I saw some other people's stories that mirrored mine. Crystal. I saw an evil spirit materialize next to my bed, even though I could not perceive its shape. Before I was able to speak, it tried to physically attack me by probing my neck, and I was paralyzed a moment and could not speak. So I lifted my pinky up in the air and spelt out, Jesus, help. Immediately, the evil spirit released its grip, and I yelled, leave in the name of Jesus and do not come back again. The evil spirit left and was gone. This is a website disclaimer. For those who visit the CE4 Research Group website, you will find the organization believes all aliens or extraterrestrials are evil. We do not. Yes, the gray and reptilian ETs are responsible for evil and terrorizing abductions of humans, but there are also benevolent ETs, such as Pleiadians, who look like a more perfected form of human beings and do not conduct abductions on terrorized people. And I, Heidi Hollis, will go on record to state I believe I was one of the first researchers to say to use the name of Jesus in the face of these negative alien beings that abduct and terrorize people. I put that in my book called The Secret War. The Heavens Speak of the Battle, or now is updated to be called A True Story About a Real Alien War and Shadow People. Check it out. My main website, HeidiHollis.com, or go to Amazon.com to find that. Very important that people know they can protect themselves. All right, trekking on into some Bigfoot boundaries. This article is entitled Sasquatch Befriends a Woman. Kelly Lapsertese loves being outdoors in nature and follows the ways of the Native American people. She is also intuitive, clairvoyant, and able to communicate with souls from other worlds, dimensions, and levels of consciousness, angels, extraterrestrials, and, you guessed it, Sasquatch. She says her Sasquatch friends even introduced her to her husband, Kiwani Lapsertese. That was on December 12th, 2012, and they were married in July 2014. Kiwani is the author of The Psychic Sasquatch and Their UFO Connection, and The Sasquatch People and Their Interdimensional Connection. The following story is abbreviated account of Kelly's first meeting with a Sasquatch named George. The drawings and photos are also hers. The article begins on February 2nd, 2013. Kelly took a walk in her secret wooded area near her Arkansas home. She was in a peaceful mood when she came upon a tight cluster of 4 trees. She decided to stand within them. She states, I closed my eyes and sang the song Hallelujah by Jeff Buckley, which had been going through my mind for over a week. As I was finishing the song, a very distinctive, hairy face appeared before me with a big grin. I finished the last few words of the song as I observed him and felt the love radiating from his being. As soon as I was finished singing, without a pause, I said, Hi, what's your name? In a deep voice with a Native American accent, the man answered by saying, My name is George. Your song is beautiful." I thanked him and sent him love from my heart. Despite the fact that I was becoming aware of just how bizarre this was, I felt very comfortable with him. As if reading my thoughts of curiosity, he stepped back a few feet so that I could see his entire body. I was bewildered for a few moments as I soaked in the enormity and overwhelming presence of this hairy man. I quickly realized that George was the Sasquatch person that visited me in a very profound and life-changing dream just a week before. George looked to be about 8 feet tall, with long, rust-colored hair covering his entire body, except for the features of his face. His gigantic shoulders leaned forward as he stood supporting himself with a large, crooked walking stick. He had such kind and wise eyes. In no way could they be mistaken for anything other than a loving person. There was nothing animalistic about him. I looked down at his feet. Indeed, they were big. I thought to myself, "Bigfoot," and chuckled in my mind, and he joined me in my amusement. I forgot for a moment that he could read my mind, but I was very pleased to know that he was not offended by my thoughtless stereotyping. In my mind, I thanked him and told him I was thrilled to see him. I was curious about his name, since most forest people have exotic names from another language. I asked him how he got the name George, to which he responded, "My mother liked the name." Later I learned that the name George literally means earth worker, so this name is actually very fitting for a person of the forest. It was apparent to me that George was as curious about me as I was of him. He was allowing me to interrogate him, and I had a sense that we were reuniting and bonding after many decades of separation. I asked him why he walked with a stick, and he told me that he received an injury as a child when his father was killed. I felt a tinge of sadness from him and did not press for details of this unfortunate event. I told him that he was beautiful, and his presence was light and loving. With deep love in his eyes, George told me that I have a beautiful soul, and that he has been watching me and waiting for me for a long time, and that he was proud and honored to have me in his family. He also told me that he was very pleased with how far I had come spiritually, and how well grounded I was, especially while going through the hardest emotional time of my life. He assured me that he already knew my life and my heart, and that was why he was there. He stated a serious promise to me that he will always be there when I need him. As much as I was enjoying my new friend, it was time for me to make the short walk back home. It occurred to me how odd it was that the creature known as Bigfoot would inhabit a wooded area so close to a residential neighborhood. Reading my thoughts, George answered me with his mind and said that he did not live there, but it was the right time and place for him to introduce himself to me. He said that he was a multi-dimensional and that he could be wherever he wanted to be at any moment. He turned his back to me and started in the direction of a creek and asked me to follow him to an area that I had suspected to be a portal. I apologized to him and said that I would love to, but that I really must return home now, as I was already expected to have returned. I asked him if he would like to follow me home, and he readily agreed and was thankful for the suggestion. We walked slowly in the direction of my home, with George following about 5 steps behind me. We talked about many personal things, and he presented questions to me which inspired deep thought and answers that I had never even considered. Although only minutes had passed since he appeared before me, I was already bonding with him and felt the significant heart and soul connection between us. He was just like my big brother, always there with advice and protection. We arrived together at my driveway, and I invited him into my home to see where I live and meet my family. He was really just humoring me at this point. Of course, he knew where I lived and who I lived with. I explained to George that he could come and visit me any time he wished, and that he could also help himself to anything in my home, and showed him where the food was. I thanked him for revealing himself and for the fellowship that we shared. He grinned and nodded, turned in the direction of the front door, and proceeded to walk right through it, as he telepathed a promise to me that I would see him again soon. This was the most exciting thing that has ever happened to me, and I knew that it was an answer to prayer. I knew that meeting him would change my life. Wow, I'd say so. Uh, Still trekking into Bigfoot boundaries, a teacher reports Bigfoot screams and wood knocking. The article begins, sometimes hair-raising Bigfoot screams rip through the quiet woods of Cherokee County, North Carolina, according to a teacher in that area. Before he would tell us more, he asked us not to use his real name. He said there were a lot of conservative people in the county who would quickly label him crazy. So we put him in our witness protection program and named him Jim. We should add that Jim is the kind of teacher that students trust. They feel comfortable talking to him about things that bother them, and that is how he learned about their Bigfoot experiences. Below are reports of 3 Bigfoot incidents in Jim's own words. 2 of the boys, who are good, honest kids, told me they had come and been on a camping trip with their dogs and had set up camp in the middle of nowhere, he began. At about 10 p.m., while they were roasting hot dogs, one of them started kidding around and did his best imitation of a Bigfoot call. They didn't expect anything to happen. In fact, they didn't even believe Bigfoot was real. But less than 50 yards away, there was an answer. The boys said the way it screamed back at them was terrifying. They said it sounded like a combination of a lion and a man. They said their dogs went crazy and they all jumped into their golf cart and drove home as fast as the cart would go. They added that the dogs barked until 2 a.m. Another incident happened to a couple of my other students, Jim went on. They too were good, honest kids. They told me that they were fishing down in the area of Shook's Marina, and they heard a scream coming from one of the hollows. They said it sounded like a combination of a man and an animal. They said it sounded like a Bigfoot scream they'd heard on a television show. Jim's own Bigfoot experience was quieter. He states, I'd heard that the Bigfoot sometimes communicate by banging a large limb against a tree, and that sometimes people have done this and gotten a response. I didn't expect anything to happen, but I decided to try it one day when I was out in the woods. I took a good-sized solid piece of wood and cracked it on the side of a tree or 2 or 3 times. Then within 3 to 5 seconds, something off in the distance responded with the very same sound I'd made. So I tried it again. I cracked on the tree 3 times, and a few seconds later, here comes an answer. 1, 2, 3. Woohoo! Alrighty, well thank you all for listening to UFO Headline News with me, Heidi Hollis. Be sure to check out ufoheadlinenews.com every single day. And also tune into my other weekly radio shows, The Outlander on Fridays, and I co-host on The Kevin Cook Show every Tuesday. Both shows are at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. And also, check out my paranormal comic strip, The Outlanders. Direct links to all of this can be found on HeidiHollis.com, or just come and explore at inceptionradionetwork.com. Remember always to keep an open mind so you can stay informed and inspired.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's #1, #2 employee. Leave a message at the... Hey, Jamie, it's me, Jamie. This is your daily pep talk. I know it's been rough going ever since people found out about your a cappella group, Mad Harmony, but you will bounce back. I mean, you're the guy always helping people find coverage options with the Name Your Price tool. It should be you giving me the pep talk. Now get out there, hit that high note, and take Mad Harmony all the way to nationals this year! Sorry, it's pitchy.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match.